For many years, Henry Winkler rarely spoke at length about John Ritter. It wasn't avoidance, and it certainly wasn't indifference. Some friendships are simply too meaningful to compress into a headline or a quick anecdote on a talk show. Now, at 80, Winkler has begun to reflect more openly, not to revisit pain, but to honor a bond that shaped his life. What he shares isn't dramatic or sensational. It's thoughtful, warm, and deeply human. He remembers Ritter not just as a gifted comedic actor, but as a generous scene partner, a devoted father, and a man whose kindness extended far beyond the camera. Their connection was built on shared vulnerability and a mutual understanding of what it means to make millions laugh while quietly carrying personal pressures. When Winkler speaks now, it's with the tenderness of someone who knows that true friendship doesn't fade with time. It simply changes form. And sometimes, speaking about it becomes a way to keep it alive. Growing up, between expectation and self-doubt, long before he became a cultural icon, Henry Winkler was a sensitive boy growing up on Manhattan's Upper West Side. His parents, German Jewish immigrants who had escaped Nazi Germany, carried the weight of survival with them. They built a stable life in America, but emotional warmth was often overshadowed by high expectations. Henry struggled in school, particularly with reading and writing, though dyslexia was not yet understood. His academic difficulties were mistaken for laziness, and the words spoken to him in frustration left deep marks. Yet even in those early years, something creative stirred within him. At 13, watching West Side Story sparked a realization that performance could be a path to expression. Acting offered something school had not: confidence. At his bar mitzvah, after painstakingly memorizing his Hebrew portion, he felt a sense of triumph that lingered. It was a small but powerful reminder that perseverance could outshine doubt. Finding confidence on stage. Determined to follow his passion, Winkler left New York to attend Emerson College, later earning acceptance into the prestigious Yale School of Drama. Scripts were still challenging and memorization required extraordinary effort, but he refused to let learning differences define his limits. After graduating in 1970, he returned to New York to pursue acting professionally. Early work consisted of commercials, dozens in a single year, and small theater roles that paid little but built experience. Those years were not glamorous, but they were formative. Each audition strengthened his resilience. Each performance sharpened his craft. Slowly, the pieces began to align. By the early 1970s, he sensed that opportunity was approaching. What he could not have predicted was how dramatically that opportunity would change his life, and how the character he would soon portray would become inseparable from American pop culture. Becoming the Fonz. When Happy Days premiered in 1974, Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli was intended as a minor character. Winkler's audition, however, revealed layers beneath the leather jacket. He infused Fonzie with humor, hesitation, and heart. Audiences responded immediately. What could have been a stereotype became a symbol of unexpected depth. Over time, Fonzie evolved from background presence to cultural phenomenon. Catchphrases entered everyday language, merchandise flooded stores, and Winkler became one of the most recognizable faces on television. Yet he remained mindful of portraying vulnerability beneath bravado. A holiday episode revealing Fonzie's loneliness touched viewers profoundly. Winkler understood that authenticity, not swagger, made the character endure. For a young man once labeled incapable in school, becoming a beloved national figure felt surreal. Still, fame did not alter his core values. He remained grounded, focused on craft rather than celebrity. Crossing paths with John Ritter Winkler, first met John Ritter in 1978 during an ABC celebration event. Both were rising stars, Winkler from Happy Days, Ritter from Three's Company. Amid the noise of television glamour, they recognized something familiar in each other: humility, warmth, and a genuine love for making people laugh. Their friendship formed naturally. Years later, Winkler directed Ritter in the television film A Smoky Mountain Christmas, and they would share the stage again in a Neil Simon production. Working together felt effortless. They trusted each other instinctively, both understanding the delicate rhythm of comedy. Ritter's energy filled a room, but off camera, he was thoughtful and grounded. For Winkler, The friendship was never about fame. It was about shared experience, two actors navigating success while holding tightly to authenticity. A shared Broadway triumph. In the late 1990s, playwright Neil Simon invited Winkler back to theater. Cold readings had always intimidated him because of his dyslexia, but he prepared meticulously and earned the role. Ritter joined the production, and together they faced early setbacks when audiences responded lukewarmly. Instead of retreating, they refined, revised, and persisted. A second run was met with enthusiasm, and eventually the play reached Broadway. For both men, the experience was more than professional validation. It was a shared victory, proof that perseverance could reshape outcomes. Standing side by side on stage, they celebrated not just applause, but resilience. It deepened their bond. They weren't competing stars. They were collaborators cheering each other forward. An ordinary day that changed everything. In September 2003, Winkler was working alongside Ritter on the sitcom 8 Simple Rules. The atmosphere that morning felt routine and relaxed. During rehearsal, Ritter mentioned feeling unwell. At first, it seemed minor. The kind of discomfort one expects will pass. Within a short time, however, concern grew. Ritter was taken to a nearby hospital, and the cast waited anxiously. The news that followed was devastating. A sudden medical emergency had claimed his life. For Winkler, the shock was profound. Their final exchange had been casual, two friends parting mid-conversation. There had been no dramatic farewell, no sign that it would be the last time they spoke. The suddenness left an ache that words struggle to contain. Life, Winkler realized, doesn't always announce its turning points. Sometimes it shifts quietly, leaving silence where laughter once echoed. Honoring the man beyond the spotlight. In the months that followed, Winkler spoke publicly about Ritter with heartfelt sincerity. He remembered his friend's boundless energy, intelligence, and devotion to family. Ritter's comedic brilliance was obvious to audiences, but Winkler emphasized his depth, his thoughtful nature, and unwavering commitment to his children and wife. When legal proceedings surrounding Ritter's passing unfolded, Winkler offered testimony not as an expert, but as a friend. He described conversations that always circled back to love and responsibility. For Winkler, preserving Ritter's memory meant focusing on character rather than headlines. The verdicts and reports mattered less than the essence of who Ritter had been: generous, principled, and full of life. Reinvention beyond an iconic role. After Happy Days ended, Winkler faced the challenge of typecasting. For a time, he felt adrift. Yet, he reinvented himself through producing, directing, and eventually returning to acting in varied roles. From comedies with Adam Sandler to the beloved series Arrested Development, he demonstrated range and resilience. Later, his performance in Barry introduced him to a new generation and earned critical acclaim. Throughout it all, he balanced career with family, building a marriage and home life rooted in steadiness. Discovering his dyslexia later in life brought understanding to childhood struggles, transforming shame into advocacy. He became an author and speaker, encouraging children facing similar challenges. Growth, he learned, is lifelong. The enduring power of friendship. Today, Henry Winkler carries John Ritter's memory with quiet reverence. Time has softened the sharpest edges of grief, but it has not erased the absence. When he reflects on their friendship, he speaks not of loss alone, but of gratitude. For laughter shared, stages conquered, and conversations unfinished yet treasured. Their story is not one of Hollywood's spectacle. It is a reminder that behind iconic roles are human beings seeking connection. Winkler's reflections reveal that true friendship leaves a permanent imprint. It shapes who we become and stays present long after applause fades. In honoring Ritter, Winkler reminds us that love expressed through friendship is one of life's most enduring gifts.